Welcome to the deep dive. So, you've asked us to get a handle on the shifting world of threat detection and response, TDR.
That's right.
Specifically, you're looking at SIM, that's SIEM, and it's pronounced SIM, okay, the SIM, and how it stacks up against XDR, extended detection and response.
Yeah, it's definitely a hot topic right now, and things are evolving pretty quickly.
For sure. I mean, SIM systems were the cornerstone for a long time, weren't they? Pulling in logs from everywhere.
Absolutely. They were, and often still are, the central repository. You'd get logs from servers, firewalls, apps, you name it. The whole idea was to sift through that data, find the patterns, the bad stuff.
Right, build rules to catch things. But then endpoint detection and response, EDR, really took off.
It did. And for some organizations, it felt like EDR gave them more immediate bang for their buck,
Yeah.
high-fidelity alerts directly from the devices where attacks often land.
Which leads to that big question we heard you wrestling with. Is EDR, that endpoint focus, actually enough these days for TDR? Could you maybe redirect that SIM budget?
That's exactly the debate. SIMs, well, they often need a lot of feeding and care, right? Configuration, tuning, dealing with potentially loads of alerts. EDR can seem more straightforward sometimes.
But you lose something potentially.
Well, that's the trade-off, isn't it? You might lose that broader context outside the endpoint.
Okay, so let's back up slightly. Talk about the core strengths of SIM. Why was it so foundational? What's its lasting value proposition?
Its fundamental power is that wide visibility. It sees across your whole IT landscape, not just one piece. By bringing together logs from disparate systems, Windows events, firewall traffic, cloud logs, whatever, it lets you correlate activity.
Correlate meaning?
Meaning connect the dots.
Yeah.
See how an event on the network might relate to something happening on a server, for example. That broad view is crucial for deep investigations, for threat hunting, actively looking for subtle signs of trouble.
So it's not just about alerts, but also about digging deeper afterwards.
Exactly. And because SIMs often store data for longer periods, you can trace attacks that unfold slowly, maybe over weeks or months, across different systems. It helps you piece together the entire narrative of an attack.
That makes sense. Seeing the whole timeline, the whole picture. Are there other big drivers for keeping SIMs around? Compliance, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge one. Many regulations, PCI, EPA, GDPR, you name it, require organizations to keep detailed logs for extended periods, sometimes years.
And SIMs are built for that kind of long-term storage and reporting.
Precisely. They provide the audit trail, the historical record needed to prove you're meeting those compliance mandates. It's often non-negotiable for certain industries.
Got it. So broad visibility, deep investigation capabilities, and compliance support. That's the traditional SIM stronghold. Now let's pivot to XDR. What's driving its rise? What problems is it trying to solve that maybe SIM wasn't?
XDR basically evolved out of EDR. The idea was, okay, endpoint detection is great, but attacks don't just happen on endpoints. They cross networks, involve email, user identities, cloud services.
So XDR tries to connect those dots, extend the detection beyond the endpoint.
Exactly. It aims to integrate security telemetry and control points across a much wider attack surface. Endpoints, yes, but also network traffic analysis, email security gateways, identity systems, cloud workloads, bringing it all together.
Breaking down those traditional security tool silos.
That's the goal. And a key part of XDR is often the integration of SR, security orchestration, automation, and response.
Okay, SR, what does that add?
Think of SR as the automation engine. It takes the alerts and insights from the detection components and automates the response actions. Things like isolating a machine, blocking an IP address, disabling a user account. It makes the response faster and more consistent.
So XDR is positioned as a more integrated, more automated alternative, maybe easier to manage than a traditional SIM plus separate tools.
That's definitely the pitch from XDR vendors. A more unified platform, often with AI and machine learning baked in to find more complex threats, and built-in automation to handle the response, reducing that manual workload on security teams.
Interesting. And you mentioned some EDR vendors are even trying to become like next-gen SIMs.
Yeah, some are adding cheaper log storage and broadening their data ingestion, trying to offer more of that investigation and hunting capability alongside the core EDR XDR functions. They're trying to bridge that visibility gap.
Okay, so let's crystallize the comparison. From a business standpoint, how do they stack up?
Well, simplistically, you could say, SIM offers potentially wider visibility but often demands significant manual effort and expertise to get the most value. XDR promises more integrated, intelligent security with built-in automation, possibly offering a faster time to value, especially if you lack a large, dedicated security team.
And technically, how do they fundamentally work differently?
A traditional SIM is primarily about ingestion and normalization. It takes logs from everywhere, tries to make them speak the same language, and then relies heavily on predefined correlation rules. If you see X and Y happen, trigger alert Z.
So it needs those rules defined up front.
Right. It's powerful, but depends on knowing what you're looking for, to some extent. XDR typically takes a more curated approach, focusing on integrating specific high-value data sources like endpoint, network, email, cloud. And it leans more heavily on AI and machine learning to find anomalies, behavioral deviations, and unknown threats that might not match any predefined rule.
Can we walk through an example, say, detecting a threat that moves from email to an endpoint?
Sure. Let's imagine a phishing email gets through. The user clicks a link, malware gets installed on their laptop.
Okay.
With a classic SIM setup, you'd need rules that correlate email gateway logs showing the click with EDR logs showing the malware execution. An analyst might need to manually piece that together.
Okay.
An XDR platform, ideally having native visibility into both the email system and the endpoint, could automatically connect those events. It sees the suspicious email activity, sees the subsequent endpoint compromise, correlates them using its AI, and maybe automatically triggers a response like isolating that laptop from the network.
Much faster, potentially much more automated.
Potentially, yes. Less manual stitching together of alerts from different consoles.
Okay, that highlights the integration benefit. What about something like an insider threat?
Good question. A SIM would rely on analyzing user activity logs, logins, file access, etc., and you'd likely need custom rules to flag suspicious behavior patterns. XDR often has user and entity behavior analytics, or UB, capabilities built in, using machine learning to baseline normal user behavior and flag significant deviations automatically.
Or investigating really stealthy attacks like APTs.
SIM gives you the raw data for forensics, that deep historical dive, but it can be very labor-intensive. XDR aims to speed this up by automatically correlating weak signals from multiple sources, endpoint, network, identity, that together point to a sophisticated attack, making threat hunting potentially faster.
And compliance. We said SIM was strong there. Does XDR help?
Both can help, definitely. SIM has the edge for pure long-term log retention mandates, but XDR, with its deeper analytics and context, can potentially offer richer insights for compliance monitoring beyond just storing logs, understanding what happened, not just that something happened.
So summarizing the trade-offs. SIM, great visibility, customizable, strong on compliance, but response heavy, potentially slower response. XDR integrated, automated, AI-driven, faster response, but maybe less flexible, potential vendor lock-in, and might not cover every single log source like a SIM can.
It's a pretty fair summary, yeah?
Which leads to the idea that maybe they don't have to be mutually exclusive. Could they work together?
Absolutely. That's a common perspective now. XDR can act as a high-fidelity alert source feeding into a broader SIM. The XDR handles the immediate automated detection and response for common threats across its integrated domains, while the SIM provides that overarching visibility, long-term storage for compliance, and the platform for deeper cross-domain threat hunting that might involve data sources XDR doesn't natively cover.
So XDR enhances the SIM.
Or the SIM provides context for XDR alerts. Some see the ideal TDR platform as having tightly integrated EDR and NDR feeding into a SIM-like backend, all managed through a single workflow.
So for a really mature organization with complex needs, maybe both are justified.
Potentially, yes, especially if they have heavy compliance needs or a very diverse environment. For others, maybe a robust XDR platform is sufficient, especially as vendors continue to expand the types of data they ingest and analyze. It really depends.
Which brings us to an interesting solution in this space. You mentioned StoneFly is sponsoring this deep dive.
That's right. StoneFly manufactures the SA365 appliance, which is positioned as an integrated SIM and EDR XDR solution.
Okay, so they're aiming to combine these worlds, an appliance doing both.
Exactly. It's designed as a turnkey, on-premise security appliance. The idea is to provide both the broad log ingestion and analysis capabilities you associate with SIM, alongside the integrated real-time threat detection and response features of XDR, all within a single box.
On-premise is key there for some organizations, I imagine.
Definitely. For organizations that want or need to keep their security data localized, an on-prem appliance is appealing. The SA365 aims to tackle things like malware, brute force attacks, SQL injection attempts,
The common threats.
right, plus monitoring for suspicious processes or command execution. It uses threat intelligence feeds, allows custom detection rules like IRA rules, and integrates with network IDS systems too.
So what are the main advantages StoneFly promotes for this approach?
They focus on it being an all-in-one solution for quicker, more effective security. You get the built-in detection and response. It runs on dedicated high-performance hardware. It's pre-configured to ease deployment, provides that single pane of glass for visibility, and it's designed to be scalable.
And how does it work under the hood? Briefly.
It basically ingests logs and telemetry from across your infrastructure servers,
Mhm.
network devices, endpoints, applications. Then it analyzes that data in real time using its security intelligence, analytics, maybe some machine learning, looking for threats.
And when it finds something?
It generates alerts and can trigger automated responses based on predefined playbooks.
Oh.
And importantly, all that data, the logs, the alerts, the forensic information, is stored securely on the appliance itself.
Who would find this kind of integrated appliance most useful?
It seems targeted at organizations looking for comprehensive on-prem security without the complexity of integrating separate SIEM, EDR, XDR, and SOAR tools. Good for SecOps teams doing threat hunting, organizations needing solid compliance logging, securing remote branch offices, or even as the basis for a managed detection and response (MDR) service.
So it's an example of that convergence we were talking about, trying to bring the best of both SIEM and XDR into one integrated package.
Precisely, offering that blend of broad visibility and automated response in a single platform.
Okay, so wrapping this up. It's clear as you, our listener, explore this TDR landscape that it's not a simple choice. SIM versus XDR isn't always an either situation.
Not at all. Traditional SIMs offer that invaluable broad perspective and are crucial for compliance, but they demand investment and expertise. XDR brings powerful integration and automation, really streamlining that detection and response cycle for many common threats.
And solutions like the StoneFly SA365 we discussed show a trend towards converging these capabilities, trying to offer a unified, perhaps more manageable approach, especially for those needing on-prem control.
Exactly. The right answer for your organization really hinges on your specific needs, your risk tolerance, your team's capabilities, and your existing technology stack.
So the final thought is really about understanding those strengths and weaknesses we've discussed, evaluating your own environment critically, and then deciding whether a standalone SIM, a standalone XDR, a combination of the two, or perhaps an integrated platform like StoneFly's makes the most sense for effectively protecting your assets against evolving threats.
Well put. It's about making an informed decision tailored to your reality.
Great stuff. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.